two key targets for next year we'll be announcing very soon. And one signee from last year is going to be headed to JUCO, unfortunately.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me. And Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. And thanks for FanDuel for being our sponsor today. Jimmy, first of all, let's get the bad stuff out of the way so we have to talk about it anymore. Steve Mbamua, who we have not learned how to pronounce his last name yet.
I think that's close.
Mbamua. He will be going to junior college. He will not make it to campus for Alabama next year. You know, hey, if the good news on that is we have a lot of depth on the DL right now. It's not necessarily a bunch of 5 stars, but it's a bunch of really good players. And if you're going to lose somebody, probably defensive line is the one place you can afford to this year from this signee class. And, you got to remember he's, coming from somewhere that isn't necessarily football powerhouse, I would say, right? And so maybe he's going to need a little time to get better. And that's okay. I mean, again, not the best news in the world, but it's okay.
The more I've thought about it, the more I think, I think it's a little closer to good news than bad news. I mean, as Luke pointed out, he wasn't going to be in the plans this fall. I mean, there's just no way with Alabama's depth on the defensive line and his lack of experience. Steve was not going to play this fall. He was one of the more definitive redshirts. When we did our roster rankings and included him much earlier this spring and summer, he was very near the back end, and that's because he's one of the most certain redshirts that we had coming in. But now that he's not qualified to enroll at Alabama, and let's be clear about this, he is academically eligible to play football, and he's academically good to get into Alabama. The reason he was not allowed admission into Alabama is all foreign students must pass an English proficiency test that's given to all students that are from other countries entering Alabama. And of course, Steve is from Canada, but he's from the French-speaking part of Canada, Quebec. So French is his natural language. He also speaks, apparently, he was born in Africa and speaks a second African language. So English is actually his third language. And he did not pass the English test. Therefore, he can't enroll at Alabama this semester. And so he's going to go to junior college. And again, he's academically eligible, so he'll only be at junior college for basically one semester. That's buying him time to prepare for and and pass this English test. So he'll be at Alabama in January. This isn't a typical, hey, we're sending him to JUCO thing. Now, again, as Luke pointed out, this has no effect on this year's team. He's going to redshirt anyway, and this is what I meant to the good news, Luke. He has such little experience playing football, and he is going to play. He's going to play this fall at Southwest Community College in Mississippi. He's going to play. I think that's going to help him. I like the fact that he's going to play in some games against some good Mississippi junior college competition. I think it's going to help him. I wonder if it will help him even avoid a red shirt and he ends up playing for Alabama in year 2. Now I wouldn't rule that out. I think this might put him in better position to play next spring and fall should the opportunity arise.
Okay, so if English is his third language and he's going to eventually end up at Alabama and with a stop off in Mississippi JUCO, he's going to need to learn a fourth language because, as I've told y'all before, I had a French cousin, and when he was trying to pick up the Southern dialect, it wasn't easy. So it's going to be difficult. But let's move on to some better news, we think. 2 wide receiver commitments in Travis Smith out of Atlanta and Derek Meadows out of Las Vegas. Those guys are going to be making their announcements sooner rather than later. I know Derek Meadows is Saturday. Travis Smith, I think, is tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I was going to say Friday, but I think you're right. I think it might be Thursday.
But I think we believe and you believe at Bama Online that he will probably end up at Tennessee. He has eliminated Auburn, and he's down to Georgia, Tennessee, and Bama. It feels like it's going to be Tennessee. Derek Meadows, meanwhile, is down to Alabama, LSU, and Notre Dame. And it felt like an Alabama-Notre Dame battle. Now it's sort of swung to an Alabama-LSU battle, the one constant being Alabama, so maybe it is the tide.
Right. That's right. BOL, we think, or at least Tim has said, Tennessee for Travis Smith. I don't have any optimism there. I think we're going to stick with that BOL Tennessee prediction there, or at least feels like that's Tennessee. And look, in Travis Smith's situation, Alabama's in excellent shape at wide receiver. Excellent shape. I mean, you've already got Latsier Brooks. We know how we feel about him, regardless of where he's ranked, even though On3 is pretty high on him. The other services have yet to catch up with On3 on that one. Caleb Cunningham is a 5-star from Mississippi. We feel that's Alabama as of today. Hopefully that won't change by the time he makes up his final decision. But we feel good about Caleb Cunningham. And look, if we only end up signing 2, I think the staff is fine with that. I think the staff is fine with it being the 2 if they want. So Travis Smith going to Tennessee is not affecting Alabama in any way, and particularly and since Alabama still has a really good shot at Derek Meadows and even Khalid Lockett, who's going to announce later this summer. I think he's going to announce in August. Alabama is in that for sure, and Alabama's in it for Derek Meadows. As Luke pointed out probably 2 weeks ago, if you asked me, hey, is Derek Meadows going to Alabama? I'd say, he might be going to Notre Dame. Well, Alabama has apparently, from what we've gathered, Alabama has won out over Notre Dame. That's how we feel. Alabama over Notre Dame. But LSU is the one making a real charge here at Derek Meadows. And, hey, LSU recruits that position really well. I think this is a legitimate competition to the point that as of now, Derek is going to announce on Saturday. But as we stand here right now, Luke, that's a suspenseful one. That's a grab your popcorn, sit down, put your feet up. This is going to be some real suspense, Alabama or LSU. We don't have an official prediction at BOL yet. We'll probably have one on him before Saturday or on Saturday. Right now, if you're just like, okay, we'll guess. I'm going to guess Alabama for Derek Meadows. But this is legit suspense. Stay tuned for a BOL prediction. Also, stay tuned for what Derek is actually going to do. I think this is a heated recruitment. He's also a fun prospect to talk about, Luke, because this is really strange. There is almost no one in this cycle with less tape of playing great football than Derek Meadows. Look who's recruiting him. Alabama wants him. Notre Dame wants him. LSU wants him. And they're not the only ones. Those are the finalists. But this is a heavily recruited kid who has not gone to many camps. He's not a camp guy. He only caught 15 balls last year, something like 15. There is 15 instances of him catching a football on tape in his junior year. He's almost like a unicorn. Here, Charles Power, our rankings guy at On3, talk about him. They're like, there's no one we want to see more than Derek Meadows. He's the most intriguing guy out there, but he's almost like Sasquatch. There's very little legit tape of Sasquatch or Derek Meadows, playing football. But 6'6", like I'm talking about near legitimate 6'6", playing wideout, over 200 pounds. A lot of fans have been comparing to Mike Evans. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but I also think Alan Lazier in the NFL is a really good comp for him. He's an intriguing guy. Alabama really wants him. High priority for Alabama, Notre Dame, LSU. Again, there are, I think, anywhere out there in cyberspace around 15 balls that you can watch Derek Meadows catch, and that's it.
Are they all good ones?
Must be.
Okay.
I'm just saying that's not a lot of production for what. Now, he can't help it. The quarterback, every high school.
Well, he also plays for Bishop Gorman, which is like one of the top 5 high school programs in the country, probably when it comes to football. So, the thing about playing for one of those teams like an IMG or whatever is you might not get all the accolades you deserve because everybody else on there is pretty doggone good too.
That's right. And further, this is why it gets offered. Now, Bishop Gorman is one, well, like Luke said, that's one of America's biggest powers in high school football. It's weird they're in Las Vegas, and I don't know anything about Nevada high school football, but from what little I know, Bishop Gorman is a huge national elite powerhouse, and like the second best team in Nevada would have a difficult time winning Region 3 and 4A football in Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Bishop Gorman and no one else. They play a national schedule for that reason. But the point is, every major college in America recruits Bishop Gorman High School. So everybody sends their coaches during the evaluation period to Bishop Gorman. It's a must stop for every power program. So all of these colleges, Luke, have seen him practice at Bishop Gorman, and that's where they get sold. That's like, we want that guy, regardless of how many balls he gets, in their offense.
Of course, we want to continue with the countdown in the third segment, but in this second segment, we're going to give the basketball team a little love as we're going to talk about the non-conference schedule. But I want to tell you about FanDuel. Love me some FanDuel, and if I can ever find this little thing right here, which I did, and I'll put it up there. I love sports. I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets, and anytime I'm in the mood, I can make something happen on FanDuel. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So we knew Alabama's basketball non-conference schedule was going to be pretty arduous. We knew it was going to be tough. And it has exceeded our expectations. Let me just run these down for you really quickly, because when you say them all in a row, I mean, it's even more difficult than you thought. And keep in mind, some of these teams that are on here, there are some tie-ins that make things kind of funky. There are some teams that have made the NCAA tournament in the past that you may not think. When I say UNC Asheville, you may go, "Oh, what's the big deal?" UNC Asheville's been in the NCAA tournament a bunch, and they're not bad. So we open up with UNC Asheville in Tuscaloosa, November 4th. Arkansas State in Tuscaloosa on
improving team.
And it's a proving team. And of course, Brian Hodgson is the coach there. And so what you like about that is for the second year in a row, Nate Oates is hooking up a former assistant, and all it does is just breed all this goodwill. I just love it. So then on November 11th, McNeese State in Tuscaloosa. And unless I'm way off base and way out of the news, Will Wade's still the coach at McNeese State.
Goodwill Breeding would be a great name for a movie.
I think I saw that on Cinemax once. November 15th, kind of a odd time, but it's a Friday, November 15th. Bama is at Purdue. They play Mercer that next day. That at Purdue game, I might have to scoot up there. I don't know. November 20th, Illinois in Birmingham. Now, here's another thing to pay attention to. I mentioned the first three games are in Coleman, right? Then at Purdue, then Illinois and Birmingham. Then the 26th, the 27th, and the 29th, Bama will be in Vegas. They open up with Houston. They're either going to play Notre Dame or Rutgers in the next round, and then who knows?
Hey, Rutgers is supposed to be outstanding. I know that's a weird thing to say because they're
they have
new
two
to
of the
be
top five players in this signing class.
Yeah. And had they kept Cliff Amore, it's kind of weird about Cliff Amore leaving Rutgers at a time that Rutgers was going to be preseason top. Rutgers would probably be getting some Final Four talk if Cliff Amore had stayed.
No doubt. And that's a tournament that, look, if my family doesn't do something like we were talking about, like everybody going to the beach, we're getting older, so everybody wants to go get away for Thanksgiving and nobody cook. Thanksgiving is the most overrated holiday there is anyway. I've always said that because all the food is great.
Here we go again.
But so if my family doesn't do something to get away from everything, then I'm going to go to this Vegas thing. I really do want to go to the Vegas tournament. I hope that a lot of you guys go. So they're in Vegas until November 29th. Then they're at North Carolina in the ACC SEC Challenge November 4th. They don't play in Tuscaloosa again until December 14th against Creighton. So that means they go a full month without a game in T-Town. Now,
that isn't a weird anomaly, isn't it?
It's not crazy, though. And, I sort of get the rationale in the sense that, okay, you can't really control the ACC SEC thing. We need to go on the road this year. And then you got Thanksgiving in there. You've got all these finals, and the finals are always so wonky. You don't know what students are going to be around or whatever. The game in Birmingham is going to be packed with Illinois. So I'm kind of cool with it. December 14th in Creighton. I wish that were like earlier in the season, I guess. But then December 18th, they're at North Dakota. And then they wrap up with 2 games in Tuscaloosa, Kent State, and South Dakota State. So the last maybe 3 games, I don't know how good North Dakota is going to be. I'm assuming they're not going to be great. But the last 3 games sort of give you a hint of a breather going into the SEC, which I think is needed. Otherwise, I challenge anybody to show me a tougher schedule. Indiana released their schedule, and I was like, this is bad for Indiana. Indiana, if you're going to continue to call yourself a blue blood, you got to go play some people. Their schedule just wasn't good.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me about Alabama's non-conference basketball schedule is the first 2 games, and I'm going to say the first 3 because I know McNeese was really good last year under Will Wade. But the first 3 games, Alabama will be a double-digit favorite to win those 3. And the last 3 games of the non-conference schedule, Alabama will be a double-digit favorite to win those 3. So that's 6. But the middle 7,
brutal.
You might as well be playing in that in-season NBA tournament or the Western Conference or the NBA playoffs. Those 7, there is absolutely no way, Luke. No one plays a 7-game stretch like that. That is all 7 of the teams that Alabama will play. All 7 are legit Sweet 16 level teams. You could see all of them in the Sweet 16, including Alabama.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm excited about it, though. It gives me a reason to want to go on road trips for basketball, which I always think about going on road trips for football. That's always my thing. But like going on road trips for basketball now, and especially now that we're good, it takes.
Would you rather see Alabama play? Would you rather see in person Alabama play at North Carolina in the Dean Dome or at Purdue? Is that called
at the Dean Dome?
Is that called the Mackey Center? Is that right?
I think so. I'd rather go to the Dean Dome.
Me too. I think the history, but I'm just saying, Mackey at Purdue is tradition rich to say the least. But North Carolina would, it's
going to be easier to go to the Purdue one because it's on a Friday.
Really?
But regardless, I don't know. I'm doing one of those. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. So, speaking of betting your bottom dollars, you can bet your bottom dollar that these 2 guys we're going to talk about coming up are going to be big contributors for Alabama this year. That legit may be the worst segue I've done. I was trying to think have I done a worse segue? I don't think I have. I'm happy.
If it was a segue, you sort of crashed into the curb. Those segues. Do people still use those?
They do Segway tours in big cities and things.
I see people on those scooter type things, but I don't really see a lot of Segways.
Let me tell you, I like those scooter things.
Have you been
by the way, I was we got to get to these 2 players, but I'll tell you a story very quickly. When I was in Phoenix last year, I was riding one of those scooters and I had my then 6-year-old daughter riding with me. You're not supposed to have her, but to heck with it. So she's riding it with me and we're standing there. And as we're riding one direction, this crowd of it wasn't protesters, but it was just marchers. And it was like marchers for Christ or whatever. And so they had Jesus is coming back and all this stuff. And there must have been 50 of them, all with these signs and everything. And my daughter, was very sweet about it. She goes, "Dad, don't break up their Jesus party." Like, she didn't want me to drive right in the middle of their Jesus party. And I just said, that's sweet of you. But
what a good kid.
The Jesus party.
What a good kid.
So we're going to talk about Damon Payne and Domani Jackson now. We're going to do it, cram it into one segment because, frankly, I don't know that we can give them each a segment right now. We don't. Damon Payne, okay, he's got a lot of potential. I'll tell you something. I've seen some interviews with him, and I love his quotes. I love the fact that he's trying to take on more of a leadership role. It feels like people are looking up to him as one of the veteran leaders of the team, which I appreciate. I appreciate his sticking with us. I mean, this guy's from Belleville, Michigan, and he survived the retirement of Nick Saban and hung with it. I think that should be lauded with praise. He's 6'4", about 300. But let's also be honest about this. I'm looking at his ESPN stats right this very minute. He had 1 solo tackle and half a sack, 9 total tackles, 8 assisted on 8. But that we need more out of him. I'm with you on where he's ranked, though. I think he should be the number 22 or 23 player. I'm with you where he's ranked. But, man, we're like banking on some unknown here.
Yeah, one thing about I've noticed this pattern, and it's real. It's not going to apply to every defensive lineman, but I would go so far as to say most defensive linemen under Freddie Roach, and it's a real compliment to Freddie. They all improve year to year. I mean, every year you're getting a little more out of these guys. And where Damon started from as a red shirt, and then, year one, then he played. And not only did he played with the ones. He played with the ones. It wasn't a lot, but he played some snaps with the ones as a redshirt freshman. Last year, redshirt sophomore, now he played with the ones exclusively, played in virtually every game, and he helped us out. Now, as Luke pointed out, he didn't dent the stat sheet. This wasn't a guy that wrecked the stat sheet every week. As a matter of fact, most weeks he'd play and you'd go, did 44 play? And yet, yeah, I saw him out there a few times. He didn't do much, but he did do some things. He made some plays, but he played with the ones. The point is, what are we going to get this year? Because each year he's improved. And if now we get another leap, we're talking about a really good SEC contributor. This is a highly ranked kid. Now, one final thing to point out about that developmental arc that's been really consistent for Freddie's guys, they've also made a big leap at the end, whether it was year 4 or year 5. All of these guys like Phil Mathis, Christian Barmore, Byron Young, Justin Aboigbe last year, these guys are making a big leap in their final season. And I'm not saying this is Damon Payne's final season. I'm just saying if Damon Payne goes like all these other guys, improves every year, either this year or next year, he makes the big leap and becomes a really good player. That's what I'm expecting to see. It'll be this year or next year, but minimum, we're going to see an improved Damon Payne. And I think before he leaves, we're going to get that Barmore, Mathis, Byron Young, Justin Aboigbe year out of this guy.
Yeah, I muted. Sorry.
I thought you were contemplating on all that.
Again.
Sometimes I just think you're blown away by the wiseness. If someone's bragging about how wise they are, should they use the word wiseness?
The wisivity.
Bragging on my head. Oh yeah, that was wisey of me.
Okay, so let's move over to Domani Jackson. Same kind of scenario, except really. So Domani Jackson played in USC, obviously, and he doesn't have an interception yet.
Nope.
I mean, you would feel he's got 28 total tackles. He's played, I think, in 18 total games. I still believe in the guy, and I'm with you where he is ranked. But I think that if you were just going by stats alone, both these guys are probably too high. And
exactly.
That being said, you and I being recruitniks, sometimes when you fall in love with a recruit, like I know we did with Payne and I know we did with Jackson because we thought Jackson was going to come to Bama for a while initially. It's kind of hard to quit thinking of them like, oh, the light's going to come on any minute. As
5-star, high 4-star types. I mean, Payne high 4-star and even a 5-star. I think a one service, Domani, a universal 5-star. exactly as Luke says. But here's a couple things. Let's be bluntly honest about what Domani has done so far has been really disappointing. I mean, a disappointing 2 years at USC. He did start as a sophomore most of the games last season and was not great. Was pretty not great at times. So why would I rank him the 22nd best player on this whole football team? I think it's almost an easy prediction to make. First of all, 5 stars have tools. We know what Domani's tools are. This is a 6'1", 190-pound corner, which is just ideal NFL size corner. He ran the fastest 100-meter time in California high school history. I mean, that's how fast this dude is at that size. And then you watch tape of him as a young player at Modern Day, that great high school program. There's tape of a young Domani as a sophomore being a great, oh man, this dude's a future dude. Well, his first year at Southern Cal, he's coming off a bad injury. He was injured really badly his senior year at USC. Well, I say badly in the sense he missed his whole senior year. I think he got injured in the opener his senior year at USC. A senior year at Modern Day, missed all. So maybe we can write off that freshman year at USC as he wasn't over the injury. But last year he was, and he played and he started, and it wasn't great. This is what I'm hoping for, Luke. The normal progression, we talked about it with Damon Payne. Each year, a year better. So he'll be 1 year better, surrounded by better players. He's going to be a better player because the safety next to him is Malachi Moore. Malachi's going to make sure he's lined up right in the right defense, no busts. Malachi is going to improve everybody back there by being the ultimate traffic cop. Domani's going to have a pass rush that he didn't have at Southern Cal, a commitment to defense that they probably didn't have at Southern Cal.
Better coaching.
Mo Linguist coaching Domani Jackson, I think is very likely an improvement. So I think better coaching, better players around him, a year better, a year removed further from the injury during his 12th grade season. Add it all up, and I think we start seeing the Domani we thought we'd see. But it is fair for anybody to say, nope, I'm Missouri on him. You shouldn't have him ranked here. He's going to have to show me, because what we've seen so far with our eyes as a college player hasn't been good enough. That's fair. That's fair for anyone to say. I just think based on tools and based on what we outlined, an improvement here is around the corner. It's not pie-eyed to think that. It's optimistic thinking, but there's also some reality in that optimistic thinking when it comes to Domani.
Now that I think about it, why didn't we get Coach Linguist involved with Steve if language was a problem? Makes sense, doesn't it?
It's good. It's good. Oh. So good. I don't have a follow-up joke to that. That's just going to stand on its own.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.